wizards and witches. Welcome to Symbols and Cynicism, a podcast where we talk about all of the spooky things that I love, some of the evil things that I hate, and this ghoulish, terrifying, wicked, vile adventure that we call life. My name is Bob, I'm your host, and I am sorry you're here because there are demons at every turn who will eat your soul. Abandon all hope, ye who choose to enter as Harrison, Dawn, and Cathy. Join me and we discuss dark, gothic topics of a truly scary nature. Come, enter into the darkness if you dare.
Welcome back to the show. We're glad you're here. No, I will not be using that voice all episode. You're welcome. A, it would be annoying. B, it hurts my throat to do. So we'll be using normal voice the rest of the podcast. Today's episode is called Eventum Irae. It's Latin. I used a Latin translator. Means episode of wrath. Taken from the Dies Irae, which is way back in the Roman Catholic Requiem Mass for the dead. They had a part of the ordinal was the Dies Irae, which translates to Day of Wrath or Judgment Day. It was part of the Mass when the soul arrived for judgment to decide, whether it goes up the escalator or down the escalator, in Bugs Bunny terms anyway. It was later used as Dies Irae. This famous melody was later used in a non-Catholic musical setting by Hector Berlioz in Symphonie Fantastique, and it was still marched to the judgment. It was just not Catholic religious judgment, and it's been used throughout musical history in tons of things that are not requiems. In modern day, it's used all over the place in movies, TV, marching band, drum corps, and any time a composer wants to indicate darkness or evil or anything scary, you hear this melody.
Dies irae, dies illa, salve secum in favilla.
It has become pop culture. It's a signal for that uh-oh moment in any sort of media. Okay, some feedback from our last episode. I got one message that just said, "Dude, great episode. Glad you enjoyed it. Thank you for the feedback." Another from a former student who I sort of forgot where he was, sort of lost track. I thought he was doing one thing. He's a lawyer working at Miami University. I thought he was at a previous university. I forgot he switched jobs. Who had not heard the name Ryan Yale. And of course, Dr. Yale from the last episode is one of the band directors at Miami University. We interviewed him. If you didn't listen to that episode called Love and Honor, go check it out. Great conversation. So this former student of mine listens to the podcast, turned it on Monday morning, heard the interview with Ryan Yale, and sent me a message that says, "I'd never heard of Dr. Yale, but really enjoyed the episode, and then realized I have a meeting with him this afternoon." Now, it's nothing bad. This former student works in the athletic department, so I think they just had a meeting about probably just some upcoming athletic things. And a third and final that asks for show planning tips for band directors. And I've got good news for you. That is coming later this season or early in January sometime. We'll be doing an episode like this. Show planning, marching band show planning is something I'm very passionate about. I enjoy it. I think it is the first step to success of any marching band, having a show that's going to meet the kids and be enjoyed by them and meet their needs with difficulty and design. And I'm very passionate about that. And we're going to have some guests on, I hope, I haven't fully planned it out yet. I'm hoping we have some guests on and kind of do maybe a three-way discussion about this and include some drill and include some visual ideas and choreography ideas and just get a whole show planning sort of round table. So I'm hoping that's in January. It's a thing that I think a lot of band directors overlook when they're planning their shows. They think about difficulty, and that is important, absolutely important. But I think they skip over the what are my design needs? What meets the needs of my kids? What do my parents want? What about the crowd? Judges are sure important if you're a competitive band, but there's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot to think through. How are we creative? What are some guidelines to being creative? And so that is coming. Be patient. It's only October or nearly November. So yeah, it's coming. And I think just not yet. Doesn't seem like the time yet. So that is coming down the road. Speaking of band directors, if you're a high school band director and you have a marching band, you're coming to the end of your season. Maybe if you're a competitive band, it's done, or you've got state finals or something else down the road. If you're not a competitive band, then maybe you're coming to the end of marching band, or maybe you have the playoffs too, but football season is sort of ending for, I think, most states. And even if you're going to the playoffs, you're probably done teaching shows, and now you're going to be, doing like a best of or whatever, for the playoffs. I don't know too many people that do a new show for playoffs. You're kind of just doing whatever from the season. So I want to talk to you for a minute, those of you ending your marching band seasons. And if you are looking back thinking, oh man, I wish we had, or we should have, or maybe it didn't end the way you wanted it to, whether that's competitively or not, makes no difference. We all look back at our season and think, well, we could have probably performed better if. Right? So what I want you to do is I want you to start a Google Doc or some other shared document with your staff. And this is if you have a staff of 20 or 2, okay? And share this out and title the document something like Changes for Next Year. And do it right now while you're still thinking about it, while it's still fresh. Even if your season's not over, you're still sort of in marching band mode. And I know you think, well, I'll remember. And then next May, you're going to be thinking, now, what was that one list of, okay? So share it with your staff. Have them write things down. Dream big. Dream lofty. Don't be unrealistic. Okay? You can't if we had a pizza party be realistic. Okay? But be lofty. Quite frankly, when I was teaching, we had this document and it was years old. We just kept pushing stuff down and adding stuff to the top and look back. Hey, what did we think about 2 years ago? It's kind of a running document. Maybe it's something to do with your basics package. Maybe it's something to do with how you want to schedule band camp, pre-camp, post-camp. Maybe it's you want to incorporate new basics. Maybe it's a new musical warm-up. Maybe it's something global like spend more time each week on basics. And how are you going to do that? Okay? And no thing that is realistic is bad to put on the list, except my suggestion, do not put more rehearsal on your list. I don't think more rehearsal should be on the list. I think better, not more. I think more efficient, not more. What ways can we do rehearsal better? What can we do more efficiently? What are things that we can do to make our rehearsal time better? But don't just go more. Kids are way too busy, in my opinion, for more rehearsal, especially if what you already have is not very effective. I know a lot of bands with very little rehearsal time that are really good bands because they have squeezed every ounce of juice out of the minutes that they have. They use pre-planning, they use their student leadership, they use their adult leadership, and they just plan the heck out of everything so that every minute is truly efficient. Okay, so you've made your list. Now put it away for 4 months. I mean, put it away until February or whenever, and you can forget about the list, but you've made it now, and then you could come back later and see in February what is still a good idea that's on this list, right? That's going to change. The other thing I want you to do right now is I want you to put out a survey to your students. It could be a short survey. It could be a long survey. How detailed of information do you want? Was the show too easy? Was the music too hard? Did we have too many performances? What suggestion? Some of the things that we started doing later in my career that were the best things were actually students. And then if you're going to do a survey with kids, you got to do two things. Otherwise, future surveys are not going to work. Number one, you review that information with them ASAP. Don't let don't get to Thanksgiving break without having reviewed it. It could be 10 minutes. Quick, hey, here's what you told us. 80% of you think the music was too easy. 90% of you think we need snacks at football games. It's whatever the thing is. And we promise to work on this. The staff is going to look into this, and you take those things and you add them to that other changes document you have, and you label it like student initiated, and you list the things. Here's the students are requesting. And they're not going to get everything, and you have to have them be realistic too, right? Like ice cream party every Wednesday is not realistic. So that's my tip for you as a band director. Start a Google Doc about changes that staff initiated. Survey your kids about their thoughts. And then the other thing that I didn't mention, I said two things. One is you got to review it with the kids right now. And then number two is you got to come back to it before the end of the school year and say, okay, we heard you. You told us these 5 things or 10. We're going to do these 3. We are committing to do these 3 or 7 or whatever that number is. That way they know, hey, they listened. Not only did they ask our opinion, they listened. And you can be real with them. Look, you wanted this. We can't do it. It's money. It's time. Whatever we don't want to, right? Whatever the reason is, but you gotta have follow-up and follow through on those surveys. And then every time we put out a survey in the future, I would say, hey guys, listen, we listen to this, so be real and be honest, because this can affect next year or next month or whatever that is. All right. Okay. That's my music education moment for the week. On today's episode, all things spooky. While I would never probably say I love Halloween, I don't remember the last time I dressed up. I would occasionally at school, if like the staff was doing a themed dress up, I would dress up. I never went really far out of my way. It was always things we had. Like there was a magic day one time and Harrison had a robe and a Harry Potter tie. And so I dressed up like Harry Potter. I mean, I would do it. I would participate in it, but I don't go out of my way to do any of that. But I do love a lot of things associated with Halloween. I love fall weather. I love hoodie and shorts or pullover and shorts. I love it. I love dark themed music. I love dark themed books. I like some scary movies, kind of a thing, but I love all of the things associated with Halloween and the fall and October spooky season. I just wouldn't say I love Halloween. So when I thought, let's do a Halloween show, I actually thought, well, what in the heck are we going to... Well, there actually ended up being a lot. So we have several guests today. We have Harrison, Dawn, and Cathy. Actually, we have Harrison twice. We're going to discuss our favorites from the world of movies and TV shows, drum corps, books, and Star Wars villains, plus Halloween candy. So a lot going on with just all of the things that we love about spookiness. And of course, teenagers who make no effort. This episode was a lot of fun, so let's get to it. All right, please welcome back to the podcast,
Once again,
my son Harrison.
I feel very welcomed.
You're here today. We're going to do our favorite visual media, scary Halloween horror type things.
Movies and shows.
Yeah, any visual media. Now, we should say you like this type of thing far better than me.
Sure. I love rankings.
You love rankings. you're going to do a ranking.
Oh, you mean horror things?
I just mean horror things. You're going to do a ranking of these things because you love going 5 to 1.
Yes, I'm gonna go.
I didn't rank mine. I'm just going to give you 5. So it'll be a little like that. But you love horror stuff much more than I do. You love the movies and the TV thing. I like there's a number of things that I like. You get that from your mom. Your mom likes the scary stuff. It's not that I don't like scary stuff. It's not my.
I love to in October especially, but any part of the year, and I don't get to do it much in October because of the nature of the things that I do. But I love to sit down with some of my closest friends because they are an interesting group of people to watch a horror movie with. Because I love horror movies. One of my closest friends loves horror movies. One of them is just funny to watch a movie with because he makes weird comments. One of them is super chill and just will do whatever for a hangout. And one of them despises scary stuff and is like a scaredy cat. And so watching a horror movie in one of our basements in the dark on Netflix is one of the most fun activities to do with them. And so I've watched all 3 of the movies on my list like this, but not the shows because it's kind of hard to do that with a show.
Yeah, with a group of friends. Okay, so go ahead, give us your first thing. This is going to be your number 5. What's your number 5 favorite?
Sure. First, I'll give an honorable mention. Super relevant right now, but just barely didn't make the list. Is Stranger Things. I think the reason why it's not on the list is that it has they're like 30 years old. It's taken too long to progress, which is kind of hypocritical of me to say since I didn't watch any of it until after the 3rd season had already come out. I didn't see any of it till post-COVID, but quickly became a fan, and I just feel like it's been drawn out over too many years at this point.
Yeah, they've aged a lot. I'm not a fan of Stranger Things. I've watched a lot of it with
might be your hottest take
with you and your mother. Yeah, it's hot take. I'm just not a fan. It's well acted. The acting is good. The cinematography is good. Like, it's well put together. I'm not saying it's trash by any stretch of the imagination. It's obviously popular for a very good reason. The music is great. I do like the 80s nostalgia of it all. That's my era. Like, I'm like, hey, I think
you would like it.
Like I was dressing as a Ghostbuster when those kids. I just not a huge fan. So okay, but your number 5.
Number 5 is a movie called Us. That is, I think, before COVID. The general premise of this movie, it's a little bit more of an underrated pick that I don't think that a ton of people have seen, but it was kind of a blockbuster-ish movie. There's a family, and they're on a vacation to a beach in, I believe, North Carolina, and they're in an Airbnb of sorts, just a house, and the mother, when she was a child, experienced something very strange. We see it at the beginning of the movie. She walks into, they're called fun houses with all the mirrors and stuff on the same beach when she went there as a kid. And she sees herself and she thinks it's a mirror. And then the other version of herself moves. And that's the intro to the movie. And then we cut to her as an adult with kids and a husband. And they start to see versions of themselves, and their daughter experiences something weird. And then there's a copycat version of the family sort of attacking them in a almost slasherish style. But it's very well acted. It's very interesting.
So it's psychological, but also a little slashery?
A little bit, yeah.
Like a jump scare?
A little bit of jump scare. Mostly the scares are psychological, but they do brutally murder some side characters that you don't like in a very slasherish way.
And I've not seen that one, so I can't reflect much on Us, but I will go with my first one of these. Again, these are not ranked for me. I'm going to go with The Shining from 1980, the 1980 version. Of course, it's also been a miniseries. Originally, it was a Stephen King book, and I love this movie. Stephen King does not like this movie. He was not a fan of this version. They changed way too many things. And if you've read the book, which I have multiple times, and also seen the movie, which I have multiple times, I mean, the basic premise is the same. It's a haunted hotel, and they're up in it's in Colorado, and they're snowed in for the summer as caretakers, husband, wife, and son. And so then, the father figure goes crazy. He gets, the hotel comes to life and all of the things. So I think a lot of people know the story of The Shining in general.
Blood elevators.
Yeah, there's the twins and the blood elevator, though the house the hotel kind of tries to kill them.
And almost none of that is in the books, but
yeah, I mean, a lot, yeah, right. But I mean, the basic plot
Yes.
is the same. And again, psychological, because it's got that loneliness factor, isolation factor. There are some jump scares. It is a little bit slashery. I mean, he does try to murder his entire family.
here's Johnny.
Here's Johnny. So yeah, that's one of my top. I would watch that movie every year for sure. I'll go to my next one. Go a little different take on this. I'm going the comedy route, but I still think it's
Okay.
Halloween-ish. I'm going the original Ghostbusters from 1984.
I like that.
I mean, it's got all the, my favorite comedians from the 80s, and it's just totally comical. And it's got Sigourney Weaver in it, which is, like the Space Queen, and she's in,
Sure.
she's great. I also have loved the newer ones. Frozen Empire, also really, really good. But you got to go classic, 1984 Ghostbusters.
Great movie.
One of the best. What's your next?
My number 4, because I'm doing a ranking, is a show. It is on Netflix. It's a Netflix original, I believe. Another one, I promise they're not all weird.
Well, it is Halloween.
It is Halloween. This one is also very strange and probably not a lot of people's cup of tea, but I really liked it. It's called Midnight Mass. The general plot is it's an island. It's very secluded. They're very Christian. They're very tight-knit community, very not modern at all. And they all go to one of those old churches with the wood floors and the pointy ceiling and some one-room church that everybody, especially from Ohio, can picture in their head because we've all been to one. And there is a preacher there who midway through is revealed to be something he does not appear to be. And it gets very strange very quickly, but I loved just the vibe of it. I loved the way it was organized throughout the episodes, which is something we'll talk about later for some other show. And I loved the acting. I loved the premise that I can't go into too much because I would absolutely spoil the entire show.
Yeah,
I
no
told you
spoiler alerts.
what happened, but it is very cool. If you like psychological horror and also just things that when they're on screen are a little unsettling just to look at, that makes me kind of uncomfortable, but in a good way, then this show is for you. That's my number 4, Midnight Mass.
Midnight Mass, Netflix original. All right, go ahead and give us another one.
My number 3 is a movie that you have also not seen. I believe it's on Hulu. It's called Long Legs. It's Nick Cage, who has not done a lot of horror movies. He is the main antagonist in this movie. It's Nicolas Cage, but he looks nothing like Nick Cage in this movie. He is so scary in this movie. Long Legs, I saw it in theaters with my mom because a couple weeks after it came out, 3 or 4, it was the end of my freshman year and I was busy, but I had seen on TikTok that it was getting a lot of traction. The promotion for it, the only promotion for it I ever saw from the actual movie, was this clip of a heart rate monitor that they attached to the actress when they filmed the scene that she walks in and sees Nick Cage's character for the first time. And because the promotion for the movie was essentially he's not Nick Cage, he's so scary in this movie. And so they put a heart rate monitor on her for the first time that she sees him, and her heart rate spiked to 150 or something ridiculous, which is probably not true, but was very effective marketing. And the sound design of this movie is so scary. They use silence so effectively and just these quiet little things that Nick Cage does that is oh, that's so creepy. And they mess with the aspect ratio of the screen a bunch to show passage of time. It's very creepy, also extremely psychological. There is some gore in there in the middle when something that you would not expect to happen happens. And it's a very good movie. So that's my number 3.
Yeah, shout out in all of these to the sound designers, to the composers. A horror movie, jump scare, especially horror movie, is not a jump scare without a bang or a chord or something, right? And man, it didn't even make my list. I'm embarrassed. How about Psycho by Alfred Hitchcock, right? One of the most well-known musical chords, with the stabs and things. And then even you mentioned it, what made me think of it right now was you mentioned silence. Sometimes the absolute silence in these
Yup.
movies, in these, is just, raises to that level of just epic sound design. Yeah. So I'll do my third one here. It's Saw, the original
Ooh.
Saw
Okay.
from 2004. Jigsaw is the antagonist, and he's playing games. He's trying to teach a lesson by playing a game, which is there's two guys trapped in like this old, dingy, gross, disgusting bathroom, and they're both changed to opposite sides, and they can saw their arm off. That's why it's called Saw, because they can
Yeah.
saw their leg off or arm off or something, whatever it
I
is.
think.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in a long, long time, but it's one of those movies. It's a really good movie. Like from
So
from the premise of it, through the whole plot, very few characters, very simple, but also very, very, in my mind, very, very creepy.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm going to go, again, I'm taking a hard left-hand turn here.
Okay.
For my next one, my second to last one, is going to be from 2011. It's an episode
I have
of...
no idea where you're going.
You have no idea. It's an episode of Phineas and Ferb
Okay.
called That's the Spirit.
Absolutely.
And Phineas and Ferb and Candy, the whole gang, is trick-or-treating. And they come upon a boy who lives in a house, and he thinks his house is haunted. So they go in, and the house is haunted. And it's also, the songs from Phineas and Ferb are just outstanding.
Yeah.
And this is Were-Cow. As opposed to werewolf, the song is were-cow, and they run from the were-cow, and then at the end the house disappears, and it's very
It's an awesome episode.
awesome episode. And again, I love Halloween, I love spooky dark things, just not horror movies that much.
Yeah.
So I'm going with Phineas and Ferb, That's the Spirit episode from 2011. Check it out. Those are, I think, on Disney.
You're making me regret not putting any of the Simpsons Halloween specials, Treehouse of Horrors, on this list.
Give me a minute.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Because those are all classics. So my number 2, again, because I'm doing a ranking, is not super scary. I've done 3 in a row that are like very psychological and uncomfortable. This one is almost like a parody, but it is also an absolute classic. And if we're just talking about things that I have to watch every October, it is the original Scream.
Mm-hmm.
However, while I'm specifically talking about the original because that is the best one, I just watched the 6th one a couple weeks ago. I have seen the 2nd and 3rd ones. I haven't seen the 4th and 5th one, but I've heard good things. It is so consistently good across 6 movies. They're making a 7th. But the first one, obviously the classic, sets up there's always 2 killers.
Mm-hmm.
And even in the 6th one, they make a joke of why do I still have a landline in my kitchen? Because that's the only way the killer can call them.
Yep.
So stellar acting all the way through the franchise. And it's almost like that Back to the Future effect where it's like the same plot over and over, but in a way that actually makes it better every time it's the same plot.
Yep.
But the first time is always the best one. So Scream 1 gets my number 2 spot.
I'll go with my first one. First, I already kind of gave it away. And this might be my favorite. I mean, I didn't do a rank, but it might be my favorite. The Simpsons Treehouse of Horrors as a grouping. I don't know. Are they up to 30 of them? I don't know what they are.
So many.
There's so many every season. But I'm going to go with, I'm picking one. And it was from the first one was from 1990. That's the first Treehouse of Horror. I'm going from 94, which is the 5th, Treehouse of Horror 5.
Okay.
Which I think all of them had like 3 little mini stories in the Treehouse of Horrors. And this one, there is not a bad one in here. It has the Nightmare Cafeteria, which was a spoof of like Soylent Green, where they're eating the children and mixing them up in the food, in the goulash. It also has The Shinning, which was the spoof of The Shining. But don't get us in trouble with copyright, boy. It's a great version. And then maybe the best one of the 3, although it'd be tough, is Time and Punishment, when Homer is trying to fix the toaster and he accidentally turns it into a time machine, and he goes back in time and he squashes a bug, and then he comes back and the whole world is different.
Yeah.
And one time it's like the Middle Ages. I mean, it's just different every time.
Yeah.
My favorite one is everything is perfectly normal and he asks for a donut, and Marge says, "What are donuts?" and he screams and runs back downstairs to use the time machine again. And just then Lisa, I think, says it's raining and donuts are falling from the sky. And so, but the end of it is he comes back upstairs. Everything seems normal, except they all have lizard tongues. And he kind of goes, close enough. So that's my, The Simpsons is one of my favorite TV shows of all time. Just the longest running anything ever and never gets old. Treehouse of Horrors are all really, really good. But that one in particular, 3,
excellent.
Knock them out of the parks. Treehouse of Horror number 5. What's your favorite?
So anyone who knows me well and knows my taste in especially horror media, but any media, knows this. This is my favorite horror media. This is my favorite horror show. This is my favorite Netflix show. This is my favorite TV show. This show, some might say I'm overhyping it. You have said that before, but The Haunting of Hill House on Netflix is so incredible, not just because of the powerful story that it tells. It tells a very good story, and very good acting and very good cinematography and good writing. It's based on a book, but it's nothing like the book it's based on, from what I've heard. I've never read the book, but it is told in a way where each episode tells a different character story of a family, that when the kids were young and the parents had moved them into a house, they were sort of house flippers, the parents were. And so they moved all across the country. They moved just outside of Boston into a big old house called Hill House. And there's 2 twins that were very young, a slightly older sister, a slightly older brother, and then the oldest is the oldest sister. And they sort of get into disagreements as children, but each episode tells one character's point of view. And so it starts with Steve, the oldest brother's point of view, and it starts in the future, and it contains flashbacks back to his perspective. But what you realize throughout each episode is that everyone's perspective on the situation reveals different things that are true and different things that aren't true, and you can't really trust exactly what you see in any given episode. And they're all scary, and they're all cool, and they all piece together as you keep watching. And it ends with the dad's episode, who knows the second most, and then the mom's episode, who knows the most. And you kind of piece everything together before the finale is all of them, and they go back to the house 30 years later, and some stuff goes down.
Yeah, and I've seen this. I do enjoy it. I enjoy it because of the layering of the episodes. And also, like, some of the scariest stuff is like they all have their own mental or physical problems.
Exactly.
The one
that are very real.
All very real. The oldest brother is sort of a narcissist, and the other, the twin of the brother that's the twin is a drug addict, yes. And there's depression involved, and just all of the very, very real things that are also horrific are in their lives. But then it's also wrapped around this paranormal.
Yes, absolutely.
Strife.
And there's so many twists of things you think are real, but are actually not.
The first time I saw it, you tend to do this. You watch things, and I only see like the first, 4th, 6th, and 7th episodes. Yeah. It's like, what in the heck is going on? And I thought, well, this is kind of interesting, but I don't really understand it. And then you said, well, they just keep retelling the same story from a different point of view. Yeah. I'm like, ooh, I like that. And then the next time through, I caught more of it. And so, yeah, absolutely. I'm a big fan of Haunting of Hill House. So much so that the whole red room door thing,
so cool,
so very cool, was actually the inspiration for a Van Wert High School marching band show where we had the fear behind the door. That was the haunted house show, and we used the red door was the way in and out of the house, and that was inspired by The Haunting of Hill House. As lots of stuff in that show was inspired by Psycho and Shining and all, just a tons of horror media, 35 hidden things or something in that show. So what was your growing up, what was your favorite Halloween costume when you were growing up?
Ooh, I had a lot. I like, now looking back on it, the Superman costumes were the cutest version of me, was the Superman costumes. I posted like a picture of me wearing a Superman costume when I was like 5 when we went to see Superman this summer.
Yeah.
My favorite to wear was probably the Darth Vader costume that I wore so much that it started falling apart. But Harry Potter is also close up there.
Harry Potter was good. The purchased ones were always good because they're well done. I think my favorite one, and I'm not sure if you were a little older when you were Marty McFly.
Yes,
because you went with Noah was Doc.
Yes.
Doc Brown. But I think my favorite one was one year for Halloween, you wanted to be Superman. But at that time, you wore a lot of costumes just in general. Like it was just one of the ways you played was dressing up. And you had a Superman costume. And so we're like, let's do something different. So a former student of mine now, but she was a student then, her dad worked in town at a factory that made cardboard boxes, designed cardboard structures. And he helped us make you a Lego Superman costume. So the body like Velcroed on from the back and the front. And it was shaped like a Lego. And then you kind of wore your Superman costume under it. So the arms and legs were the right color. We made you
a cheese ball cylinder.
It was a something like that. It wasn't a cheese ball cylinder. It was like Lego, I don't know, something. Anyway, we just bought a thing because it was
hollow thing.
Yeah, it was a hollow my head cylinder that we made yellow and drew a face on. That might have been my favorite. Was Lego Superman.
I kind of forgot about that one.
That was a really or the tractor.
We made a cardboard tractor. Also,
your mother. She said, we're gonna make a cardboard tractor to go around him, and he could be a farmer on a tractor because you love tractors from Papa at the time. And I remember thinking, "You're crazy. This is going to be not great." It was freaking awesome.
It was so cool. The
lights
lit up.
The lights lit up. It hung around your shoulders. It had a slow-moving vehicle sign on the back. It had wheels. They didn't work, but they had wheels. She knocked it out of the park, and we're looking at that thing going, okay, I was wrong.
I thought it was awesome.
This was it was great. And that was also the Halloween, I think that it was like freezing rain. So it was good to keep you.
The pictures I'm wearing hat.
You're wearing like 2 hats.
Yeah, and like 5 layers.
All right. Fun visual media. Thanks for your list.
Absolutely.
And we'll be back in a little bit with some scary, dark drum corps.
Absolutely.
All right, we are on to our next Halloween special segment here on Symbols and Cynicism. And for this next segment, we bring in our producer and my younger sister, Cathy. How you doing today, Cathy?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm quite well. We are going to discuss some Star Wars villains today. When I dreamt of this episode months ago and was planning this season, I got really excited about spending most of this episode talking about Star Wars villains. Then Harrison kind of talked me into drum corps, and Dawn talked me into books. And then, of course, you can't leave out just a general movies sort of. So we've shrunken this down to a Star Wars villain discussion, and you're here to do that with us. So we're going to talk about sort of the main villains in no particular order, just stream of consciousness, whatever I typed into the Google Doc here, and just kind of reflect on these villains. You know, it's the scary folks, it's the big bads from different eras, mostly, so to speak. And I think when everybody thinks about a Star Wars villain, the first place they go is Darth Vader. And it's the easy answer, right? Who's, name one. If this is Family Feud, Vader's going to probably get the most responses. Questionable effectiveness, I would say. I mean, what does he really accomplish, right? Krennic builds the Death Star. Palpatine controls the universe. Vader kills a lot of Imperials. And of course, that's a hot take. I mean, he doesn't kill Luke. He doesn't really destroy much of anything, quite frankly. But he is evil. I mean, if you're talking about bad guys, he is definitely a bad guy. Of course, he gets a redemption arc at the end of Return of the Jedi, right? Kind of comes back and makes amends with Luke. Does that really make him that much of a bad guy? What do you think?
Yeah, I feel very meh about Vader. I don't think he's super effective. I think that he strikes everybody as the big bad just because he has the look and the voice. I think without the voice, no one would be nearly as intimidated by Vader. So, I think that he just doesn't get a lot done. And so I think he's the most pervasive because he, is kind of in most of the movies in one form or another, maybe all the movies. So everybody recognizes him. And I know a lot of your previous guests, when you've asked them, what's your favorite villain in the series of questions you ask your guests, a couple people have said Vader, and I'm always a little disappointed by that.
Well, again, I think he's the easy answer. He's the first one on your mind. He's the original trilogy. He's becomes Vader in the prequel era. He's in the Clone Wars, sort of becomes Vader in the Clone Wars. I think you hit it on the head. I think it's the look. Like, if I show you a picture, you're going to say that's a bad person. He's the evil person. The mask. I think it's the voice. You're 100% right on the voice. There are videos out there on YouTube of the pre-dubbed versions of scenes, and it's the David Prowse voice, who was a British actor, and it's I mean, it's not, he's not even really acting particularly evil because he knew he wasn't going to be his voice. But yeah, I mean, you look at Return of the Jedi, and obviously that ends not well for Vader. Back up to
I tend to think about Spaceballs, right? Like, there's a lot of ripping on Vader in Spaceballs.
Absolutely.
And so I appreciate the mocking of Vader.
You go back to, you rewind to Empire Strikes Back. He doesn't catch them on Hoth. He doesn't find Yoda. He gets Han, but that's not even really his person. He doesn't catch Luke. Luke gets away. Right. And then A New Hope, obviously, he doesn't, the Death Star gets blown up. And I mean, so he doesn't get the plans back from the Death Star. So I mean, he's certainly evil. His intents are certainly evil, but maybe his effectiveness, not as much. Let's move on to Kylo Ren, who is an ancestor, is in the Skywalker lineage, so related to Vader. Vader is his grandfather. And so Kylo Ren, most recent villain, great mask. Again, persona, the visual there is there. Of course, Kylo takes off his mask a lot more than Vader. We don't see Vader. Once he puts on the mask, we see a few shots of his head, and then at the very, very end of Return of the Jedi. But Kylo is sort of taking off his mask. It's on and off and on and off, which when I first saw that, I was kind of disappointed in the look of maskless Kylo. Super powerful. He stops that stops the blaster bolt with his hand in one of those first scenes in the first movie. And then, of course, he also gets a redemption arc at the end of Episode 9, where he and, Rey have their moment and take down Palpatine. Thoughts on Kylo?
Yeah, he almost doesn't seem like a bad guy to me, right? Like, maybe it's because of taking the mask off now that you say that, but also a lot of his really powerful scenes are connecting with Rey. And so it's their connection. And maybe that's the balance of light and dark. But there's always just sort of this hopefulness for him. Like, when you're looking at Vader, you think, oh man, he's not redeemable. Whereas with Kylo, you're like, oh man, that guy's going to come around, right? Like, he'll be a good guy, So tons of power there. There are certainly parts where in battle scenes he's, sort of scary, but he's maybe not as, Halloween scary movie kind of villain.
Yeah, the mask is certainly Halloween scary. I think part of the diminished scariness for me is when you find out that, he sort of became a bad guy by accident. He thinks it's because Luke was going to kill him, but when you hear Luke's side of the story, it was not the case. He was going to, but then didn't. And so it was sort of by accident that he sort of has that origin story is the word I'm looking for. His origin story is like, whoops, by accident. So, okay, let's move on. A Palpatine now, Lord Sidious, by another name here. Of course, he orchestrates everything. He is super powerful in the Force. We've seen the lightning, and we see him at different times, in battles, and obviously super powerful with the Force. But a lot of it is that he just is behind the scenes orchestrating all of this, the rise of each Sith. Every time he gains an apprentice, he's sort of the one that causes the demise of the current apprentice. And so, maybe in a lot of senses, he is the biggest bad in the galaxy far, far away. What do you think about Palpatine?
Yeah, I think he is the biggest bad. I think, we've talked about the look of each of these guys. Palpatine has that hood. His body visibly degrades. Like, for a while, you don't see anything about him, but, in early movies, he's, young and just a senator. But as he gets darker and darker, visibly he gets creepier. And, he has this aura of like he has to have an apprentice, but also he is the source of all of that dark thing. He says that line, "I am all the Sith." And yeah, he definitely has that creepy factor.
Yeah, I think some of the scariest things about him are in the prequel era when he is a senator. He becomes, of course, he takes charge of the Galactic Senate, but
Chancellor.
He is also in some of those scenes like talking with the Trade Federation, and he's Lord Sidious there. But then on the out, it's definitely that mask, that two-sided, not bipolar necessarily, but two-sided. He's smiley with Padme and he's evil with the Trade Federation. And definitely, that's the makings of like he knows. And I've been watching the prequels again recently, which I don't think I've watched Phantom Menace all the way through in a very long time, because I was watching the beginning of that. I was like, wow, I sort of forgot a bunch of the beginning of this stuff, like some of the minor things in there. But as he's rising to power, both good and evil sides collectively, and when he's talking with Padme about becoming the leader of the Senate, the things he says can be taken both ways, and she interprets it as, ooh, but he's going to make things right. And obviously he does exactly what he says he was going to do. He just does it in the negative way, where she interpreted it as the good way. And that's maybe the most scary, when somebody has that much language power to speak meaning two things, and you, through your filter, accept the good side of that. I'm going to move on to Darth Maul, or as he's known now, Maul. There is a point where he says, not Darth Maul, I'm only Maul. Maul was created by the Night Sisters, not as a being. He was alive before there. There's a lot of lore in there. It's found in the Clone Wars animated series, but the Night Sisters made him who he was with their dark magic. So his strength and power was made through the use of dark magic. He is my favorite Force villain. He is strong with the Force. He's wonderful with a lightsaber. I think the things I like most about him are his intelligence. He is hyper smart. He is honest. He never really lies to you. He tells you exactly what he's going to do, and then he does it. And I appreciate his politeness. He refers to Ahsoka as Lady Tano. He refers to Obi-Wan as Master Kenobi. And he has that very polite yet dark edge. And I love Maul. I was disappointed, that he dies so early. He gets very little screen time in Phantom Menace. And so I love that he's in so much of the Clone Wars animated series. So what do you think about Maul? He's your favorite overall.
He is my favorite overall villain, not just Force villain. Yeah, I think he's truly creepy. I also, I like the animated series a lot. And so there's a lot of him in that. And you see that backstory of him, how he evolves after he loses his legs, and this real struggle with his brother Savage with kind of regaining his right mind, sort of. So he has this, like, he says the struggle is all up here, and points to his head, and kind of at some point tells, I think, Kenobi, he says something like, you can't imagine the depths I would go to survive based on fueled by my hatred for you. And so he just has that really deep-seated, pure kind of hatred that fuels him, and that can be creepy, scary. He also, at some point in those Clone Wars, has a vision of Anakin, right? Turning dark. Am I mistaken in that? I think that he has this vision and he tries to warn Ahsoka,
Right. Yep.
and she ignores him. And so, yeah, his wisdom, his vision, his connection to the Force is really deep, but then his connection is fueled really truly by that hatred, which gives him, of course, the red saber, but he gets this double-ended saber that's really cool.
Yeah, and he knows about Sidious before anybody. He tells Ahsoka about Sidious. He tells warns Ahsoka. And of course, it's at a time because of the overlap in the movies and the animated series. I'm not sure anyone could have done anything about it because we're only, I think it's 2 days or something before the actual fall of Anakin. So it's not like it was a year where we could like get Anakin some, Jedi therapy. Or something like that. And one of my favorite all-time lightsaber battles is Maul, and it's at the end of it's in the Siege of Mandalore between he and Ahsoka, where Ahsoka eventually, spoiler alert, but that show is like 7 years old or something, where Ahsoka eventually captures him and takes him to Coruscant, and he escapes, but whatever. But I love the whole lightsaber battle between he and Ahsoka. Yeah, Maul, top of my list as far as Force users for sure. And it's a close first and second on favorite villains, but Thrawn is mine. My favorite villain is Thrawn. He's not a Force user. He's a member of the Chiss Ascendancy, which is a group of planets, and it's a whole thing. Got to read the books to find out too much about that. He is in the animated series, Rebels animated series. He's pretty much the main character on the bad side there. Vader makes a couple of appearances. He is more recently in the live action Ahsoka, the last couple of episodes of season 1. I expect him to be in a lot of season 2 coming up this spring. I love him because he is just an absolute brilliant strategist. He knows what's going to happen always before it happens. He doesn't mind going against the common thought, the common lore. If his strategy thinks it's going to be right, same thing with he doesn't mind breaking the rules if he knows he's going to be right. He's an art lover, studies art history. That's how he knows so much about planets and different people, because he studies their art. He studies their lore, and that makes him a scholar. My favorite villain, love Thrawn, can't get enough Thrawn, love the books, love everything about Thrawn. What are your thoughts on Grand Admiral Thrawn?
Love the Grand Admiral. I really did not appreciate him in the visual side of things until you and I read the books, and we text a lot about the books when we're reading them. I listen to them on audio and you read the books, and we've read that series, and there's just such depth to, not only is he a scholar and art lover, but he digs deep into culture. And then
he reads those tea leaves going backwards. You hear all the time, art mimics life, and so he goes through art to see how a people group thinks. And he's like, this is their art. And they really, in the book, they mention it in Rebels, but in the books, there are lots of times where he says, this is what I see in their art, and therefore I know that this is what they're going to do, and this is their strategy. He's sort of connecting those dots going backwards, which is just brilliant for me.
And also, he has this idea for an option that would not be the Death Star, right? This is one of your favorite things, is that if Palpatine had listened to Thrawn, things may have gone very differently.
Yeah, 100%. And it's never really explicitly said in any one episode or series. You have to kind of watch Rebels along with Andor, and then a little bit of Rogue One, right? But Thrawn's big plan at that time was an updated version of the TIE Defender. If they had gone with the TIE Defender and Thrawn's plan, some of these stories may have ended up differently, which, of course, because episode 4 was the first movie, they of course had to go with the Death Star because it's already history. How about some honorable mentions here? We have not talked specifically about the Night Sisters. I did mention them a little bit. You know, they created mods. These are dark magic users, super powerful with the dark magics. And I don't consider them a main villain because other than creating Maul and a couple of other minor things, you know, the zombie death troopers were pretty freaking cool. There's not a lot of a huge impact on the story, but super, super cool people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they are in a lot of the animated series, and they're kind of a I don't know, background group, but whenever they are on screen, it is very creepy. You don't even quite understand their power.
I think the Night Sisters are one of those things that every time if I'm watching a Clone Wars, like a group of episodes, and a Night Sisters episode comes on, I think, yes, this is like every episode they have is awesome. You're right, sort of minor background characters, but they're one of those ones that's like, yeah, it's a Night Sisters episode. Those are always really super cool. 100%. They're definitely at the top of the super cool list. Any other honorable mentions for you?
I don't think for me. How about you? Do you have honorable mentions?
There's a lot of great bad villains and things. We can't name them all. It's only a short podcast. Hey, last wrap up quickie question here. What is your favorite Halloween candy?
Three Musketeers.
That's the wrong answer. But why do you think it's Three Musketeers? Why do you like that? Why do you like the wrong candy so much?
I knew you were going to say that. I don't know. I really like chocolate, and I know that the weird nougat filling a lot of people do not like, and I really, really enjoy it. I like milk chocolate, and I like the fluffiness.
Three Musketeers is top tier, certainly not mid or bottom, but
yeah,
the lack of,
I know it's not Halloween specific.
No, it is.
But,
it's fine. The lack of peanut butter is a major detraction in the Three Musketeers for me. Anything that's not Reese's is really the wrong answer. It's 1 and 1A Reese's all day. And then lots of other things are sort of that top tier, but not Reese's. And then, you go down into coconut, which is just absolutely freaking disgusting. I mean, like anything with coconut is just, why does that even exist, in my opinion? But
if I had to go Halloween specific, I would go with the Reese's shapes, right? The pumpkin or something like that.
And the shapes do taste better than the normal cups. Cups are top notch, absolute top tier, top of the top. And then the shapes are even better. We don't usually do shapes in this house because the shapes are not gluten free. They're made in a different factory. Right. So if you do the pumpkin shapes and the Christmas trees and all of the shapes are not. But so we don't have a lot of those in this house. But so Reese's was the correct answer. Thanks for playing along. You got all the Star Wars stuff right for the most part, but wrong on the Halloween candy. So you have earned your way back to a future episode at some point. Thanks for hanging with us today, and we'll chat.
Happy to be here.
We'll chat another time.
All right. Thanks, Bob.
No, breathe. Find your happy place.
What's on the grill today? Well, I'll tell you what's not on the grill today, and it's candy corn. Is there a more disgusting food than candy corn? Let's list the things I would rather eat than candy corn. Brussels sprouts, lima beans. I don't know. There's a lot of... Who even invented this stuff? It's like, hey, let's shape some candy like kernels of corn. Why? Because what everybody loves eating individual When's the last time you took one individual kernel of actual corn and ate it? I mean, you eat it on the cob, you eat a spoonful of it, you eat it in other things. I'm not dismissing corn, but candy? Corn? I could name you 200 Halloween candies that I would eat before I eat candy corn, and that includes things with coconut. No, that's wrong. Coconut is worse. Coconut is evil and wicked and should not exist. We should burn all of the coconut. We should also burn all the candy corn. It's disgusting, it's gross, and I don't even know why it exists. Thank you for your attention to this matter. All right, we are back. Harrison is back again for some drum corps talk.
Always.
And again, I wanted to talk about drum corps in the Halloween, scary, dark era.
Sure.
And when I brought this up to you, you said, how are we going to do that? There's not that much of it. Then you started investigating and you came up with like 27 things.
I have a list of 20-ish.
There's a lot. There's a lot. So these aren't necessarily Halloween shows. These are drum corps, or in my case, I included one other marching arts genre that is related.
Sure.
But that is some sort of dark theme, scary theme, something that is Halloween-ish, even though it's not directly necessarily Halloween or spooky.
Absolutely.
Okay? Okay, so why don't you go first? You're going to do these 5 through 1, and I'm just going to toss
Absolutely.
mine in.
Yes, because I like to rank things. So my honorable mention, because I did this for the movies, and I hadn't planned to do this, but I'm gonna, is Carolina Crown 2018. That is Beast, and they're all sort of animalistic, and there's one giant beast, and they just kind of rip through the whole show, and the beast attacks midway through, and there's a super cool trombone feature and a seesaw that looks like a beast. And what more could you want?
Yeah, that trombone feature from Blow It Up and Start Again by Jonathan Newman is the source material there.
Absolutely
Great,
awesome.
great trombone feature. Great segment. I really like that show. Definitely a good show.
Number 5 is a very recent one, but also an underrated show in my opinion, even maybe by myself when it was happening, is The Troopers 2024 Dance with the Devil, which the title pretty much explains it. If you've ever seen a Troopers show, they have sort of this main character that appears in a lot of their shows that is the trooper. He wears a cowboy hat and a very traditional military uniforms, almost like Civil War era, and he carries a saber, and he, in this show, fights the devil. The ballad is House of the Rising Sun, and the guy that is the devil plays guitar solo to House of the Rising Sun while trombonists are playing on pentagram props. So, you know, very Halloweenish and very cool, but it does end positive because for whatever reason, the trooper stabs the devil with a blue lightsaber at the end.
Why not have lightsabers in your
it is very
Revolutionary.
interesting.
I think that whole that show made my short list. It didn't make my final list.
Sure.
And I actually had sort of that whole recent arc of theirs, which are all pretty dark, even voracious. Like, that's not a super happy show.
Yeah, he like loses everything at the end.
Yeah, the oil well kind of explode. They have the whole whatever. So yeah, I had all those on there. Great pick by you. I'm gonna start my list. Since you started recent, I'll start recent. A little more recent even. I'm going Carolina Crown this year.
Okay.
Point of no return.
That was on my short list.
Which, again, not scary, but certainly the central figure of fate, and we've talked about this on previous episodes, but the central figure of fate, and the music is really dark, lots of minor, it's got Mahler, and you've got Carol Husa, and you've got, the Orff, Carmina Burana, which, so yeah, I think that's a really great dark, at the end, of course, fate consumes the performer, the core member. So yeah, I'm going with that one as one of the ones on my list. 2025 Carolina Crown. Give me another one. I'm going to just compare mine to all of yours. So
okay.
We'll go.
So my number 4 is Boston Crusaders have become sort of a powerhouse in the 2020s.
Mm-hmm.
It's become a core that you look at and you go, yeah, they're going to be probably meddling, if not very close. 2017 with a show called Wicked Games. It is a show about witch trials, and there is a witch who carries around an elder wand prop, actually from like Universal or something, and she does a bunch of witch-ish things and curses people, and it's just a bunch of angular music, and they're wearing plumes, which is kind of cool because we don't see that a lot anymore. And at the end, finals week, there's a prop that looks like a fire, and they burn her at the stake at the end of the show while they play this big hit. And I think that that's pretty Halloween-y, and I think
Absolutely.
it's pretty cool.
I love that show. I love the ballad of that show is Wicked Games by Chris Isaak, which was the 1980s maybe or early 90s. It was a love song, actually, and they break up and you play this wicked game with my heart. So they twisted it into be a, like witch trial. It doesn't have anything to do with the witch trials, but that's a great show. You mentioned all of the current great Boston shows, which I love, and the design team currently for Boston Crusaders, really hardcore insiders know this. Before they became the Boston Crusaders design team, they're with a core that we've never talked about on this show that I recall, called the Academy.
Yep.
And in 2018,
oh boy,
the current Boston Crusaders design team was with the Academy and did a show called The Drum Corps Bride.
Yep.
Which is the next one that I'd like to mention. It starts off with a wedding and the bride and the groom. Fun fact, the groom from the Drum Corps Bride the next year would go to Boston with the design team and be in the guard in Boston, and he was David from the David and Goliath show.
Awesome.
Same character. So they go on their honeymoon, and the bride falls off a bridge and dies, and now he is fighting through death to restore their love, and ends up leaping off of the bridge to meet her in the afterlife. And the music is just awesome. They have they start off the show with what looks like church pews, but the church pews turn around, and on the back of them are printed gravestones. And so when they turn them around, now the church becomes sort of a graveyard. And at one point, the entire corps lays down in the graves, like with their headstones in front of them. I love that show. I watched that show again today. It gives me chills watching it because the music is really cool. The design, just love that show. So I'm going 2018 Academy, The Drum Corps Bride. Next one for you, 3.
My number 3 is a Cavaliers show, which is a corps I haven't mentioned a lot, actually, on this podcast for how much I've talked about drum corps on here. And that is 2014 Immortal. This is interesting. I had never seen this show before last night as of recording this. I was doing research. A Reddit post said that this was sort of dark and spooky. I went, and the first shot in the video is of them with flags stabbed through them like pikes as they lay on the ground. And I was like, yeah, this is definitely a contender. And then they get up, are revived, and play Shostakovich, and I was like, definitely a contender. And then it just keeps going and going and going, and it's very spooky, and it's all very dark. And then at the end, they put a guard person in a coffin, and he turns into a skeleton. And so that is very Halloweenish, and also very well executed. Very beautiful ballad, I will say. All very cool.
And they move. That's where they make the circle of marimbas on the field,
and
right?
They move the marimbas around.
Yeah, they do the mallet feature like on the field in a circle and dance around them. And
why not? You're the Cavaliers.
Yeah, no, that's a great show. That was on my short list also. Another Cavaliers show that same era that was on my short show was Secret Society, where they do most of the show in hooded cloaks. It's kind of an Illuminati, like secret society show.
Crazy.
But I'm going to go a little off the radar. This isn't a stabby blood show. This is more of a psychological darkness, but it is the Cavaliers. It is 2010 called Mad World.
Classic.
Which is the key song throughout the show is Mad World by Gary Jewell. And the idea of the show is mental illness, most notably PTSD, brought on through military trauma.
Yeah.
It's kind of the whole show. So there's a lot of rifle work involved, and they don't make necessarily direct references to military, but they do this is my rifle thing at the very beginning. It's clearly a war.
Yeah.
And so it's the mental struggles and more of an internal psychological struggle over any sort of stressful, traumatic event. And I love that. I love the song Mad World. I love that show. I think there's some Shostakovich in that show too, if I
Just a
recall.
little bit, yeah.
A little bit. So that's my next one.
My number 2, this is one of your favorite shows. It is your favorite show from the year it happened. That's 2023. And that is, I think, the first time that the Mandarins were ever super relevant to me. That's not true, because they're on my short list also for a different year. Mandarins 2023, Sinnerman. This show is so brutally dark. They start out in these white cloaks, almost angel-like, and they're playing like a very hymnal kind of music, and immediately half the core rips off the white to reveal like latex skin-tight red with suspenders and like bowler hats, and they sort of unite these red cage-like props in the middle, and the angels are on one side and the sinner men are on the other side, and they intertwine. And throughout the show, the white cloaks get stripped off and the whole core becomes sinner men. And the ballad is Take Me to Church by Hosier, which is the source music, absolute banger of a song. And they turned it into trombone solo, flugel solo, and then huge hit in the middle inside of the cages as everybody rips off the white. And it is so cool. And at that same point in the show, you find out that the props spin, and while they're inside the cages and the cages are sort of in a circle, they're playing this big Take Me to Church hit as they sort of spin around them. And some more stuff happens, and they sometimes sit on the props and things at the end as things are just getting more and more dissonant, and you hear the song Sinner Man playing in vocals, and there's the trombone soloist comes back. They strap in 3 performers by their wrists and ankles in almost like a starfish position to the props and spin the props around with the performers inside of them as they play the final hit.
They spin them head over feet.
It's so cool.
Yeah, I would disagree. I love that show. You mentioned it. I would disagree that's the first time that the Mandarins sort of became relevant. A couple years before that, I don't know the year off the top of my head, it was on my short list.
Life Right After.
Life Right After
2018.
Was sort of the first time that everybody kind of woke up and paid attention to the Mandarins. That was a super dark show. It was about it was a portrait of the afterlife using The Rite of Spring, I think, by Stravinsky.
Yes.
And I do love that show. That show was on my short list. My next one, I'm going to go with Crusaders.
Okay.
But not the Boston Crusaders. I'm going with the Oregon Crusaders from 2018. The show is called Red Rum.
I'm nodding. You can't see it, but I'm nodding.
The show is called, they were 22nd place. They didn't even make semifinals with this show, but I freaking love this show. It's basically The Shining on the field. The guard is dressed up like the twins from The Shining. It's like 20 sets of twins or whatever.
Yeah.
They have Danny on a tricycle at the end of the show. They do Dies Irae. They do just dark and darker music. At the end, the guard brings out huge stream flags that is just blood all over the field. It just is dark and darker. They have some voiceovers that are very similar to, although not exactly because of copyright issues, probably very similar to, they basically tell the story of Shining on the field. And fantastic show. Love it. Worth the watch.
The energy is there.
For sure. The energy and the crowd, like the energy of the crowd, knowing that it's prelims that you're watching. Still, the energy of the crowd is there. Love that show. All right, what's your top one? Hit me. You thought we were going to have the same list all along.
I did. I thought we would have similar lists. We had similar short lists based on what we're saying.
Yep.
So I think when you said you wanted to do this episode of dark DCI shows, I told you what my number 1 was going to be. And I said, I'm not sure what else is going to be on the list, but that is number one. And it is maybe one of the best second place shows to ever not win. And that is Carolina Crown 2015 Inferno. It is a depiction of Dante's Inferno. And it's kind of funny because by 2015, they had already been being nicknamed God's Hornline. And for about 10 minutes and 30 seconds of this 12-minute long show, it is just about hell. They come out and they're playing Verdi's Requiem, and it is really cool and angular and also ridiculously difficult on a brass instrument. And the opener ends with this big organ chord happening, and they just play stab after stab, and you could drive a bus through the separation in those stabs. You can like hear the tongue hit the roof of their mouth all at the same time. It's beautiful. Ballad, one of the best flugelhorn solos of all time. Absolutely crazy hit. They put a red tarp over the core as they play the big chord, and people are getting dragged by their feet back under the red tarp.
That's one of my favorite moments as they try to escape the red tarp. People
and they get
them
pulled back in.
Yeah, it's a great moment.
And the show ends with Ode to Joy, and this guard person who has sort of been the main character and is doing sort of almost like a interpretive dance in front of the chord during that ballad moment, and is like clearly symbolizing hopelessness and that hope for the top of the Inferno and to escape it. And the opener is abandon all hope, ye who enter here. But at the end, they have a gold and white tarp, and the crown is formed under it from a visualist blob. And as they play the Ode to Joy hit, and she climbs up a white ladder with a gold cape on her back and reaches for the sky as they play the last chord in the crown set. And it is just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, Crowd knows how to end a show, right? Like with the E = MC² black hole trick, and the
get them on their feet,
getting through the fate consuming all of those things. Yeah, great show. My favorite thing about that show is a lot of things, but one of my favorite things is no props. Like it has that red, it has the red fabric thing.
Yeah,
but it's just march and play. You know, for a guy that loves props and enjoyed using props as a director, when I'm designing, I enjoy using props. I love that show because it doesn't have any props.
It's very open field.
Very open field. My last one is not from the world of DCI. It's from the world of WGI, which is Winter Guard International. For those of you who are not in the marching arts, it's basically drum corps, but in the winter and indoor. And there's a bunch of different segments of WGI. There is an indoor winds, which is only the wind instruments. There is Winter Guard, which is flags, rifles, and that sort of pageantry indoors in a gym. And then there's indoor drumline, which is front ensemble and battery, again, in a gym. And it's competitive, and it takes place usually January, February, March. World finals are in April in Dayton. This is from 2017. It's Pulse Percussion, which is an independent, scholastically affiliated ensemble. And the show is called Uninvited.
Okay.
Which is, the main musical element is Uninvited by Alanis Morissette.
Sure.
The rock tune. It's a haunted house show. And so there's a family of three, and they're sitting on this sort of old-fashioned couch, and they're all very, very happy. And then the drum line and the front ensemble sort of enter the picture, and they're dressed as sort of banshee, ghouling, black dressed, whatever sort of, and they are the ghouls in the house. And they consume the daughter, and then the father, and then the mother. And there's a piano prop that is used, and at the end, all the props flip around, and there's blood on the walls, etc., etc. So, I mean, it's very, very haunted house-ish.
Halloween-esque.
But just the way they do it, the playing is great. The staging is fantastic. You don't even notice that, like, the daughter is gone, and then she comes back as a ghost, basically, and you don't the staging is done in such a magical almost way that you don't realize what's happening until you go, oh my gosh, the girl wasn't even on the stage. You don't realize, like, how did they do that? sleight of hand moments. So I'm going, yeah, pulse percussion, uninvited. All of the shows that we've mentioned in the last few minutes, there's going to be links in the description of this podcast. So if you want to check one of these out, I'm assuming they're all, I know all of mine are available on YouTube. I assume yours probably are.
And do it. Anybody can get into drum corps.
And I'm even going to try to put some of our honorable mentions on there if I can.
Cool.
So there's going to be plenty of links in the bottom. Enjoy this Halloween week with some marching arts from the world of DCI and indoor drumline. Hey, one more question. Favorite Halloween candy?
Ooh, Reese's. It's my favorite candy, period.
That is the correct answer. Congratulations, Reese's peanut butter cups. Love them. I love the jack-o'-lanterns at this time of year.
Ones.
You can't have those because
that would be very bad.
They are not gluten-free. Cups are, but the special shapes aren't because they're made in a different factory,
which is just stellar.
Which is
I've heard they taste
so.
better. I've heard the peanut butter to chocolate ratio is better.
Look, I'm not
Reese's.
I'm not here to decry any Reese. All Reese's, the PCs, the cups, the mini cups,
wrapped,
the unwrapped, the Halloween ones, the Christmas. I will just eat anything.
Peanut butter and chocolate.
Peanut butter and chocolate. It's the perfect marriage. It's like Star Wars and drum corps. Hey, thanks for being here. Probably about time for us to go watch the last episode of Haunting of Hill House.
Sounds about right to me.
Hey, thanks for coming, man.
Absolutely.
Talk to you later. All right, Dawn is with us. Hello, Dawn.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You look beautiful today.
Yeah, so much this morning.
We're here to talk about the greatest love in your life, books.
I do love books.
In 2024, you read how many books?
87, maybe? Something in the 80s.
And this year, it's only not even November yet.
And
how many have you read so far?
85.
85. So you're on pace for 100.
Probably not. It gets busy.
You read a lot. 100 books in a year is like 2 a week.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot. I'm lucky to do 2 a month. I'm at 21 for the year. That's probably a lot for a lot of people.
Sure.
But in this house, I might be third place, although Harrison doesn't read as much during the school year. So
sure.
We're here to talk about scary books, creepy, whatever you want to categorize that as. It's Halloween, so it doesn't need to be Halloween themed, but something sort of creepy. And you don't read a lot of this kind of books. What's your favorite genre of book?
Actually, like mystery or thriller. So some of them do fit into like creepy. I do enjoy some darker stuff sometimes.
Yeah. We read very different books. I think over the last 3 years, we've read like 2 of the same book. That's it. So we don't have a lot of book club discussions
No.
in the house. And then Harrison sort of leans more towards you. You guys read a lot of the same books. I'm more of the sci-fi
Right.
end of things. But you did read a sci-fi book earlier this year, Starter Villain by John Scalzi. I had read it. You read it. And you actually, I knew you'd like that one.
Talking Dolphins
And cats that are taking over the world. Okay, so let's get into it. We're not going to do this as a ranking. Let's just talk about books you like, books I like, and see if anything crosses. I doubt it does. But what's your first book?
So I split my books into some categories because it's hard to compare different categories. So I put Stephen King in his very own category because I love Stephen King, almost all of his books. And it's really hard to pick one that stands out. So I actually picked the Mr. Mercedes series, which is actually something we have read in common.
It is.
And they're still going, like he has kept going with Holly. And they've actually gotten darker as they've gone on. So.
Okay, I read the first 3. Actually, I think I read the first one before you.
Maybe.
I don't remember. They were already pretty dark. I mean, in the one, the killer like chops up his mom and grinds her and eats her in hamburgers or something, right?
Yeah,
so, they're already pretty dark. That's a great series. I read it. I haven't gone on to the subsequent books past the original trilogy, but they are great. What do you like about them?
That they're like a lot of Stephen King. They're out there and weird and not real, but like real enough to suck you in.
Yeah, I remember I don't remember which book it is, maybe the first one, where they think that the killer is going to blow up a concert at
That's like the
stadium
original
or something.
Yeah.
I actually have a couple of Stephen King books on my list. I do love Stephen King, and a lot of the scarier stuff. I don't. If it's talking about scary stuff, that's probably the only real author that I read is Stephen King. Although I was really looking for like a sci-fi thing, and there's just not a lot of sci-fi that I've read that's really in the dark, scary stuff. There's some borderline stuff. So I will start with The Dark Half by Stephen King, 1989. I read this book in high school and remembered it just creeping me out. It's about an adult author who, when he was in utero, had a twin, and I guess it happens often. The one twin sort of consumes the other one, but the personality and spirit of the other twin stayed alive and becomes an alter ego, or does it? It's really,
Little Jekyll and Hyde.
Jekyll and Hyde. And the author is a straightforward. He's married. He's just a normal dude, and the other personality of his, or whatever it ends up being, is just evil and dark and murderous. And
I read that one in middle school.
Yeah. So, well, it must have just come out then. Oh, you're much younger than me. So, although not that young, not so much younger that it's creepy. So I'll go with Stephen King, The Dark Half from 1989. What's your next one?
So then I made a classic category, and I'm going to put 2 in there. Big fan of Agatha Christie. I know it's bizarro to read books written in the 30s and the 40s in England, but I think if there's an Agatha Christie book I haven't read, I'd be surprised. It has to be hiding somewhere. So I picked And Then There Were None, which is kind of an obvious choice, but it's just perfect. It's perfect. And I also threw in there Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, which is also a classic. And what I love about Rebecca is just the atmosphere. Like, if you're looking for a book that has just kind of a put you on edge atmosphere, the house in Rebecca kind of has its own personality a little bit.
I'll go with the classic one too, since you kind of went with classic. It's not as old as the 30s, but I'm going with a book from 1949 by George Orwell called 1984. This book holds a special place in my heart because when I was in high school, and outside of some Stephen King books, I was the kid that did not want to read. I didn't like reading. I thought books were boring. And an English teacher of mine and I had this conversation because I wasn't doing the readings in class. And she of course had a one-on-one with me. And I explained, I just don't enjoy reading, and she gave me the book 1984. And she said, knowing my person, she's one of those teachers that knows you and you're going to love this book. Forget what we're reading in class. I want you to read this book. Her goal was to get me to enjoy reading, not to read the book that we were reading in class, whatever that was. And I think I read it in a week. And so people know the story, but it's, dystopian universe. And I still think if you had to pick what's your favorite genre of book to read, I would say dystopian future. That's my jam. That's my genre. And so, it's just all about the fascist takeover and the made up language and the fake news, the altering of the news and changing of history, and just all of the things that book talks about are just, I've read this, I don't even know, 5 times in my life. I love it. It's a great book and obviously a classic. What's your next one?
All right, so my next category I picked was witches and magic. I actually really enjoy books about witches. I have since maybe 3rd grade I got into this. I think I worried my mom a little bit for a second.
Probably more than a little.
She always let me read whatever though. Anyway, so typically witch books tend to just really be about suppressing women, honestly, because there aren't witches. So they're just women. But the two things I picked were Once and Future Witches, which is a fairly new book by Alex E. Harrow, and she's actually written several books that I thought were really good. And it's a family of witches, and they've kind of separated and had their issues, and then they kind of find each other through need and magic. It's just a good story and has the spooky witch quality going on. And then Practical Magic by Alice Hoffman, which there's a whole series of books with practical magic. And this was a movie with Sandra Bullock in the 90s that we also just watched over and over and over again in my college dorm room.
Practical
So
Magic.
Yeah. So I had read the book. The book is quality, and I reread it, I don't know, a couple summers ago. So
I bet a lot of these books we're mentioning today have become movies.
oh, for sure.
I mean, especially the Stephen King ones, obviously. But I'll go. I don't have anything necessarily wizards or witchy on here, so I'll just go back to a Stephen King book from 2013. It's called Dr. Sleep, which is a sequel to a book that he wrote a long time ago called The Shining. And this is when Danny, who's the boy in The Shining, grows up, and now he's an adult. And one of the things that he has the ability to do is to touch the spirits of dying patients and give them comfort in their last hours or last moments. But of course, that then, in true Stephen King fashion, becomes an entire thing. And it does harken back to some things in The Shining. They end up returning to the hotel. I think this became a movie. We didn't see the movie. We recorded it or something, but then never, I don't think we ever
maybe.
watched it. But it's like I was tentative reading this book like, it's the sequel to The Shining. It's really, really good.
Yeah.
Enough throwback without being just a nostalgia book. And it's a new story with new characters too.
Right. Well, he released it just a few years ago, but did he write it? I mean, sometimes Stephen King waits 30 years to release
Yeah, I
something.
don't know when
he
it was
wrote.
released. It was written, the copyright is 2013. I'm not
Yeah.
sure what the release
Interesting.
date.
We'll look that up. So my next category I picked was like twisty endings or just messed up, screw with your mind a little bit kind of a book. Those are also some of my favorites if I'm in the right mood. So I picked Dark Places by Gillian Flynn. So most people know Gillian Flynn for Gone Girl, which is great, but Dark Places kicks its booty. Like it's just super messed up, very twisty. It's hard to surprise me. I figure out, oh, that person was dead the whole time, or what. Like I read so much of this that it's hard to surprise me, and I don't know. That one is messy. And in the same way, and this one is older, I read this book in high school, Shutter Island by Dennis Lehane, also a movie. Leonardo DiCaprio's in there, but the movie is good. The book is supremely better than the movie. So if you've seen the movie, it'll ruin the twist a little bit because you already know. Maybe you forgot, but
Right.
Yeah. So those two will mess with you a little bit.
I'll stick with Stephen King and go back to 1977 for The Shining. Maybe my all-time favorite Stephen King book for sure. Probably top 5 book ever. I love that book. I love the movies. I love the miniseries. But I love the book. I mean, it's the haunted hotel. It's all of the typical spooks and specters and things, but just done in a really, the end is, if you've only seen the movie, go read the book. They're pretty different, and the end is very different.
Very.
So go watch the movie. That's fine, but read the book too, because just my all-time favorite horror book for sure.
Definitely. One of the first Stephen King books I read, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so my next one I picked a category of realistic. One is actually for real for sure, and the other one is supposedly for real for sure. However much you believe in any of this, right? But the Amityville Horror book is just nuts, the kind of things that they are claiming went down in this house. And again, obviously has been made into horror movies and is a famous, everybody knows that name.
Yeah.
But man, there's just so much there. And then one that really messed with me that I couldn't stop thinking about that is for real is Helter Skelter, which was written by, I don't know, I'm going to hack this guy's name, but Vincent Bagliosi, who was the prosecutor of Charles Manson, and then basically wrote a book about what he thought was going on inside Manson's head. And that is just terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Not much you could say about that other than that. I'll toss in a realistic one too. We did not compare these lists in any way, shape, or form. You probably knew The Shining was going to be on my list,
right,
and maybe even 1984. But I also put this one on the list. This book impacted my life, and it is true. It's actually a series of small, true stories. It's called The Boy Who Was Raised as a Dog from 2006 by Dr. Bruce Perry, who is a psychologist who is in the world specifically now of education and doing a lot of research on how trauma affects the brain development, particularly in children. And so he goes through, as when he was a researcher, a clinical psychologist, he was doing all of these therapy sessions with students that children that had undergone trauma. One small child had seen her mom murdered.
Right.
He was involved. If you're old enough and you remember the Waco Branch Davidians,
Right.
he was involved with the children that were removed from that situation and trying to get them back on track. There was the title character is the boy who lived in a cage and not spoken to. He was
Right.
literally raised as a dog. And these were the scary is these are all true stories. And as you read them, if you spent probably more than 5 years in education, I might be highballing that. You have probably encountered a student, maybe not that extreme, but maybe close.
But yes.
I mean, you've encountered students that have been abused. You might not know it, but sexual abuse, have drug use in the home, have seen things that I'm 51 years old and I've probably never seen. And so the point of the book is, how do we reach and meet the needs of those students, because their brains are not capable of learning yet in a way that a typical student is, because the development of their brain was stunted
Right.
in the way their neural pathways
Yeah, their
were
synapses
created.
are not complete. No.
And it doesn't mean they're slow learners. It just means they can't regulate themselves how other students can. They can't sit for 20 minutes and listen, and so they need other ways of regulating, and we as educators need to help that.
All right, so
Anything
I'm
else
going
on
to
your
wrap it
list?
up. I
Yeah.
put 2 new-ish books like in the last 5 years that maybe some of the other ones I tried not to go with super obvious books, like maybe some things people hadn't thought of. But these 2,
like The Shining in 1984.
well, yeah, but these 2 like definitely aren't ones that were necessarily on lists. They weren't book talk or whatever. But I'm gonna say Hidden Pictures by Jason Rekulik, maybe. And I listen to audiobooks when I'm driving back and forth to school, but this is one you don't want the audiobook because there are pictures. So it's a child who is drawing these pictures of these things, right? And the pictures, you need to see the pictures to really get in your head. Harrison and I both read this one and liked it. And then Sundown Motel, also Harrison and I both read this one too, actually, by Simone St. James. It's a new book, but a classic. I forget, I think in the 60s or 70s, one of these, one story, you get to your room from the outside, neon flashing sign motels on the side of the road with ghosts and all the things, right? All the things are happening to the people staying in this hotel. So it's a really good one for this time of year if you just want to creep yourself out a little bit.
I am shocked. You could blow me over with a stiff breeze. You did not include any Harry Potter books.
I know. I almost did in the witch category, but it's too obvious. I
swear when you said which category, I was like, here we go. There's going to be Harry Potter in
I'm
here.
sitting here in my Hogwarts Gryffindor sweatshirt.
With 2 sets of the books sitting on the shelf behind you. How many times? You've read the entire series how many times?
I don't know. 6 or 7.
I've read it 1 and 2 halves. So which one is your favorite Harry Potter book?
Half-Blood Prince is actually my favorite book and my favorite movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Half-Blood Prince.
You just find everything out in that one, especially in the book.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, thanks for joining us today. We have to go get ready and get on the road to Tiffin for some...
Go jog up and down some hills.
Let's do it. They do the hills, we do the hills too.
We do.
Right? So thanks for joining me today.
Sure.
See you next time.
Yep.
No, freeze. Find your happy place.
Teenagers who make no effort. And before you turn me off because you think I'm just going to complain about lazy teenagers, that is not the case. I'm talking about Halloween. I'm talking about trick or treat. And when we have our light on, we're distributing candy. I live in a neighborhood, lots of houses on the street, so we get some trick-or-treaters and love doing that. And when a small child shows up in like an Ohio State jersey and helmet I have no problems with that. None, no problems. Give that kid an airhead. Love it. When a teenager shows up with like zombie paint and torn clothes or a real like I spent time outfit, I have no problem giving a 17-year-old trick-or-treater candy. When they show up dressed with effort, no issues. I'm glad they're having fun. It's fantastic. But if you're like a teenager, like 15, so you're a high school student, and you're going to put on jeans and an Ohio State sweatshirt and show up at my door as an Ohio State fan, nah, dude, get off my porch. Nope, not happening. Sorry. You're going to show up in a varsity leather jacket and jeans dressed as a high school student? Nah, get off my porch. Not happening. You make as a teenager, you make no effort. Get out of here. I don't want to see it. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to look at you. Little children are different. Big children make some effort. Make some effort. I'll give you candy. No problem with that. But make the effort. I feel better. You feel better? I feel better. Okay, that's the show. Make sure you leave a rating, drop a comment, or send a message on the app of your choice. You can text the show using the link at the bottom of the description. You can also check out our merch store at themarchingarts.com/RHS. There is a link in the description right under all of the drum corps links. We hope you'll join us next time as we discuss Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Something neat with Matt and people that come and go during a band performance. Thanks for joining me today. The theme music is Percussio Irae, written by me just a few days ago. Copyright RHS Music. The show logo is designed by John Suh. The show is produced by my sister, Cathy.
I hope you'll join us next time for more reflections and ranting on symbols and cynicism.